Football, the beautiful game. A sport that unites nations, brings joy, and shapes legends. But what if the very game we love was built on secrets? Secrets that tarnish the game's integrity. Today we dive into the shocking story of corruption, vulnerability, and a breach that shook the foundation of FIFA. Welcome to From Nothing to Glory. For decades, whispers of corruption have followed FIFA. Hidden deals, fraudulent endorsements, and power struggles all behind closed doors. But the world was blind until the storm finally hit. Shaking the very core of FIFA's operations. What was thought to be impenetrable suddenly wasn't. For the fans, this wasn't just a breach of security. It was a breach of trust. Imagine years of loyalty shattered in an instant, as the very system designed to protect the game turned out to be its greatest vulnerability. The breach wasn't just about money, it was about power. Hidden transactions, ghost accounts, and manipulated payments, all buried beneath the surface of FIFA's supposed secure system. As the hack unfolds, secrets come to light. Behind the firewall, the true scale of FIFA's vulnerabilities is revealed. What the world didn't know was that the attackers had been inside FIFA's systems for months. As the breach expands, FIFA's executives panic. The entire corporation is now on edge. But this isn't just a corporate crisis. This is a scandal waiting to unfold on the world's biggest stage. And then, Gloria steps forward. A former FIFA employee, Gloria has seen the inner workings of the organization firsthand. With nothing but her knowledge and a burning sense of justice, she decides to uncover the truth. With a single document, Gloria holds the smoking gun, the evidence that could bring down FIFA's house of cards. But this isn't just about exposing a hack. It's about bringing accountability to an organization that has betrayed millions. I trusted FIFA. I thought my money was safe. But when I saw my payments disappear, I realized how deep the corruption ran. We lost more than money. We lost faith. It's time for FIFA to be held accountable for what they did. From Rio to Tokyo, the breach sent shockwaves across the world. Fans everywhere rallied, demanding answers. The global stage of football was in turmoil. The hack was a calculated, methodical operation. Using sophisticated tools, the attackers breached FIFA's payment systems, siphoning off millions without leaving a trace. But how did they do it? Let's break down the anatomy of this breach. FIFA's empire was built on the illusion of invulnerability. But with one hack, the entire house of cards came tumbling down. And as each piece fell, so did the reputation of an organization that claimed to stand for the integrity of the sport. Gloria knew the risks. Exposing FIFA wasn't just about revealing a hack. It meant challenging one of the most powerful organizations in the world. And for that, she would pay the price. Gloria's investigation wasn't without consequences. She became a target, receiving threats, intimidation, and pressure to stop her work. But she didn't back down. Her bravery came at a cost. Her personal life, her career, everything was put on the line. But for Gloria, this was about more than just a job. It was about justice. As Gloria delves deeper into FIFA's systems, she uncovers even darker secrets. Payoffs, cover-ups, and illegal activities that go back decades. Even after the hack, FIFA's system remains vulnerable. The same flaws that allowed this breach to happen are still there. Nothing has changed. The fight for justice continues. Fans and whistleblowers like Gloria are relentless. Demanding that FIFA be held accountable for the breach that changed everything. Despite the corruption, despite the lies, football remains the beautiful game. It belongs to the fans, the players, and the true spirit of the sport. It's time for FIFA to come clean. It's time for transparency. It's time for accountability. We demand a football system that works for everyone. The power of one can inspire many. Gloria's courage has sparked a movement. One that demands change, not just in FIFA, but across the entire sports world. If we want change, we have to be the change. Together, we can hold the powerful accountable. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. The fight for justice is just beginning. The world is watching. It wasn't just the financial losses that shocked the world. It was the manipulation of the game's core. From match fixing to political leverage, the hack unearthed a sprawling web of deceit that threatened to undermine everything football stood for. But amid the chaos, something remarkable happened. Fans, for the first time in history, stopped being passive observers. They became the loudest voices in the room. The global fan base that had once simply cheered for their teams now rallied for something much bigger. They weren't just asking for accountability, they were demanding it. The power of social media, once seen as a tool for entertainment, was now a weapon of mass mobilization. Hashtags like reclaim the game and fix FIFA spread like wildfire. Fans in every corner of the globe took to the streets, waving banners, writing letters, and organizing protests in a way that hadn't been seen in decades. These protests weren't just about the breach. They were about taking back control of a game that had been hijacked by corruption. It wasn't just a fight for justice. It was a fight to preserve the integrity of football itself. The international outcry forced government bodies to step in. Countries around the world demanded answers, calling for investigations into FIFA's business practices, its finances, and its role in shaping the global footballing landscape. Lawmakers, once hesitant to challenge FIFA's influence, now found themselves under immense pressure to act. And it wasn't just governments. Major sponsors, brands that had long been aligned with FIFA, began to distance themselves. Some issued public statements condemning the breach, while others started reevaluating their ties with the organization. For the first time, the financial powerhouses that had been complicit in maintaining FIFA's status quo started to feel the heat. For Gloria, the pressure mounted. As the eyes of the world turned toward her, she realized the true scale of her actions. What had begun as an investigation into a hack had turned into a movement. One that would forever change the relationship between sports organizations and the public. But with that realization came a sobering truth. Gloria was now public enemy number one to those who had the most to lose. She was forced into hiding as threats grew increasingly violent and personal. But even as she disappeared from the public eye, Gloria knew that the fight for truth couldn't end with her. A new generation of whistleblowers and activists was emerging, ready to take up the mantle. The breach had ignited a spark, and that spark was turning into a fire. FIFA's attempts to placate the masses with surface-level reforms only fueled the fire. New compliance officers were hired. Security measures were supposedly upgraded, and promises of transparency were made. But none of this could hide the cracks in the foundation. FIFA's house of cards was collapsing, and no amount of cosmetic fixes could restore the trust that had been shattered. Behind the scenes, internal struggles within FIFA grew. Executives and board members who had once been untouchable now found themselves at odds with each other. Longtime allies turned on each other in an attempt to save face. What was once a tightly knit oligarchy had splintered, with each faction scrambling to protect their interests. But in the streets, in the fan clubs, and in the digital spaces, a different force was at work. The global fan base wasn't just asking for accountability, they were demanding it in the form of real, lasting change. They wanted transparency. They wanted a system that wasn't just about profit. It was about the love of the game. Football was no longer just a sport. It was a symbol of something greater. It represented hope, unity, and justice. The fight for accountability had become a rallying cry for anyone who had ever felt disenfranchised by the power structures of sport. And just as the tide seemed to be turning, a new challenge arose. How could FIFA rebuild itself and regain the trust of millions? The public demanded more than just apologies. They wanted action. Real, meaningful reforms that would prevent something like this from happening again. The question remained, would FIFA be able to confront its past, or would it continue its long history of secrecy and corruption? Across the globe, fans began to organize themselves into more formal structures. What began as protest movements became advocacy groups. Teams of passionate individuals working together to hold FIFA accountable, not only for the breach, but for its decades of mismanagement and ethical failures. The breach, in many ways, was a wake-up call for the entire sports world. It wasn't just football that needed reform. It was every sport that had allowed itself to be controlled by a select few with too much power,